From one of the shortest tracks on the circuit to the biggest track on the circuit, we're going road racing, everybody. Circuit of the Americas is ahead for us, and we're going to break it all down for you. DFS, betting, anything you want to know, we got it for you right here on the Backroad. Stick around.
It's a non-points race, but it is a short race. Checker flag. That's all this race
Good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday night to you all, wherever you may be. Thanks for tuning in to In Between Media. It's the Backroad. It's our fantasy NASCAR betting show. Guys, I'm excited for tonight. This is the first time all season, I believe, that we've got the OG three amigos here on the Backroad for you. My name's Elliot Hicks, and we've got Seth Woolcock and Rod Villagmoez here to break down what was a wild weekend at Bristol and what is sure to be a fun weekend at Circuit of the Americas down there in Texas.
I think I love COTA more than any other race from a betting perspective. So I'm really excited to head back down to Austin this weekend and excited to have the boys back, man. We got Rod on the program. We got Elliot on the program at the same time. It's a Circuit of the Americas miracle. I'm excited to be here. Rod, thanks for always lending your hand as well.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes I think that people thought that Elliot and Rod can't be in the same room at the same time. And they were like, well, why can't they be there? No, listen, from a pure race fan standpoint and a betting standpoint, COTA's fun, but man, there's some chaos that could be had. This is not Bristol level chaos, but there's still some stuff lurking in the big Texas woods that can jump out and bite us in the ass if we're not lucky or if we're not careful even.
Yeah, that big old Texas turn one there, 7 wide through. You never know if your guy's going to make it out, but that's part of the fun of it all, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but hey, before we get to all the COTA stuff, we have one hell of a race weekend to break down from Bristol this past weekend. Let's take a look in the rear view. What an absolutely bonkers Food City 500 we had this past weekend at Bristol. One of those old school races where tire wear was ridiculous. Guys really had to hang on. The winner, Denny Hamlin, said it was the first time the driver has really mattered in a long, long time. So shout out to Hamlin, Martin Truex Jr., Brad Keselowski, and Alex Bowman. The only 4 cars on the lead lap at the end of it. Or Kyle Larson as well in 5th, also on the lead lap. Shout out to those 5 and shout out to everyone else for making it through what was an absolutely wild race, especially in the modern era of the Cup Series where we just don't see this kind of stuff.
It was, I think Denny Hamlin summed it up best. A happy accident from a racing perspective. Really, really fun race. But Rod, really tough to handicap that type of shit. We've seen a lot of different races happen, 3 wide finishes, and now what seems to be a tire that could barely hold air for 50 laps. How was it on your guys' end? Because it was a little rough for us.
Well, first and foremost, to anybody who made it with 4 tires altogether, congrats to you, because that was just insane. The way they were taking those tires off and the way they looked, I mean, that looked like me after I hadn't changed my tire in 6 years. I was like, whoa, they're running on treads. I've seen that before. No, from a handicap, look, if anybody said to you, hey, I had this nailed, well, they're delusional because there's no way you could have predicted this. And look, I was lucky enough to hit Hamlin as an outright. But I guarantee you that the path that I predicted for him to get there was not the path that he took to get there. I got lucky in that there was a lot of people that could have won that race, and Denny just happened to be the most veteran out of all of them to be able to do it. So I was not smart in picking Denny Hamlin. I was lucky. So anybody that's like, oh yeah, I had this pegged, I knew exactly what was going to happen. No, you didn't. Shut up.
Yeah, it was a tough one, Elliot. And like from a fantasy perspective, it was great. I paid up for Denny Hamlin. He was the one guy I was paying up for. I had a lot of Ty Gibbs in there. You and I were holding the Ty Gibbs outright. That was really fun throughout most of the race. I was thinking maybe we were going to hit there. I was just one spot off from a Corey Heim top 5 in the trucks, and then at one spot off from the Michael McDowell top 10. So kind of tough there, Elliot. But like we really probably should have been on Hamlin heavier because all the metrics stuck out for the guy. We just didn't want to pay the price, I think. And that's sometimes what you learn and you get burned by that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit before we went live. It wasn't juice, obviously. His outright was like plus 550 on the show last week. I had him in my notes here that I just put off to the side.
Yeah.
But, what you have in your notes and what you end up betting sometimes always doesn't, match up, unfortunately. But yeah, one of those races where the veteran guys, really needed to get up on the wheelhouse. And no surprise that the top three are basically the three most veteran drivers in the sport.
Old heads roll, baby. Old heads roll. Let's go. Let's go. I think some young guns though this week, man. I don't know. I don't think the old heads are gonna do as good down in Texas. But anything else you guys have on Bristol here, other than do you guys think maybe we see this racing in the fall?
No.
That's really tough. I think they are gonna mess with that tire a little bit. Obviously, Goodyear, they wanted a higher wear tire. The drivers wanted a higher wear tire on the track. And I think they just maybe took a little too far. I'm not sure if they know exactly what happened. Yeah. That tire had one hell of a lot of wear, to the point where they even gave the drivers back. They had, I think, 10 sets it was.
Yeah.
They started them with 9. They brought extra tires. So the track they said from the end of last season, so maybe they weren't quite as good as, the freshest sticker tires. They gave those teams back the 10th set. And honestly, they would have liked a lot more, because those tires wore out hella quick, as you saw. I think Josh Berry said he ended the race on 3 flats, and one of them was on fire too. So.
Yeah, shout out Josh Berry, though. Good run for him, man. Bob in the chat saying Ty G Bibbs, baby, on a roll. Hey, I got a little Ty Gibbs action this week for you as well, Bob. So hang around till the betting portion, and we'll talk on Ty Gibbs there. And Lana, she's ready to go. Hey, friends, great to see y'all. Good to see you, Lana. Thanks for hanging out with us yet again here. And what do you guys say? Brighter turns, brighter laps ahead here at COTA?
Left and right turns. So, yeah, let's get to it.
All right, let's do it here in Horizon Forecast.
Hey, Michael, it was only 20% chance of rain. I think we got all 20.
So we are at Circuit of the Americas this weekend for the EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix. 3.4-mile road course, as we said, lots of lefts, lots of rights, and something different than even some of the other road courses offer in the Cup Series.
Yeah, with that first turn, man, there's always going to be a little chaos, whether that's early in the race or like last year where we just couldn't get to the end of the race. We were holding that Tyler Reddick ticket 10-1, and we were just squeezing and holding on for dear life. And luckily that cashed. But this is such a different one with the different elevation changes throughout the race, Rod, and just some chaos that could happen early on in that turn 1.
Yeah, everything's bigger in Texas, right? The track, the elevation, the turns, all of that stuff is bigger. And, it almost reminds me of sort of an F1 layout too, in that all of the elevation that happens, because you see that a lot in F1.
They do race at COTA too, so that helps.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it is an F1 style track. So, but yeah, I mean, look at these guys. They're throwing these heavy stock cars around on this track, and it's always bound for some beating and banging. And much like you get at a short track, but again, you gotta deal with all of the twists and the turns of the road course, and driving uphill and driving downhill. This is a very technical track, and there's very few drivers that feel comfortable on this track altogether, let alone enough to feel comfortable as a bettor or a DFS player to put your money on.
Well, the nice contrast is too, we were talking about it's an F1 style track. F1, you put more than 2 tires across those lines, you're done for. Your whole lap's wiped out. In NASCAR, you intentionally miss the track limits, go a lane over to make sure you get the best corner. So that's something I know Shane Van Gisbergen did an interview with Bob Pockris I read through earlier. He said that's one of the struggles he anticipates too, is track limits, the hell with them.
Yeah, but keep in mind, if you go too far off, sometimes you can cut down a tire. We've seen that plenty of times. Daniel Suarez, a guy I'm going to talk about later, knows that all too well. So looking at this track, are you I saw out there a lot of people were just taking Watkins Glen and Sonoma and trying to say COTA is kind of closer to those traditional road courses. I looked at the other road courses as well. Chicago Street, more of kind of a secondary. I didn't really factor that in a whole lot here, Elliot. But do you categorize this as more of a classic style road course, or are you factoring in all road courses tonight as we get to the picks?
No, I completely agree with the people just looking at Sonoma and the Glen, and even just COTA on its own, is such a different animal compared to those tracks. Chicago Street Course, I'm excited to get back there because it's hard to pull any data from that race last year on the rain tires, a new thing for everybody. And, Charlotte Roval is a whole different thing because it's a Roval.
Sure.
We don't race at the Indianapolis Roval anymore, the Daytona Roval. I wouldn't really work those in either. And I mentioned track limits. It's not entirely the hell with them. If you do cut inside somebody and pass somebody, NASCAR does look at those incidents, and there are penalties. So it's not entirely the hell with them, but definitely not as stringent as a series like F1 is.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the schedule, guys. Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern time, practice, 20 minutes, 2 sessions. Then we have 1:30 p.m. We got trucks. We got 5 p.m. Eastern Xfinity. We might throw out a couple bets for those series later in the show. I love a good Saturday sweat. That's what I'm kind of learning as the season goes on here. I have some buddies down on Saturday night, so hope to enjoy a couple of lattes with them and some Saturday sweats. Sunday then, 3:30 p.m. Cup race. We got lap 15, lap 30, and lap 68 will end this son of a gun. And let's talk some trends as well here at COTA. Ford has never won at COTA. 2 Chevy wins, 1 Toyota win in the next gen era. And there's actually 15 active road course winners. Last year, we got 2 new road course winners if you're counting SVG's win. 15 felt like kind of a big number, Rod. When I saw that, I was kind of surprised to say, wow, there are 15 active road course winners in the Cup.
Well, I mean, it's a far cry from the days when it was Elliot and Truex and Larson that was eating it up, right? And really, you can attribute this, and this is not big news. This is something that everybody knows with the increase of road courses on the schedule. I mean, before it was just Sonoma and Glen, right? So you had those guys that were like, screw it, I don't care. Those are 2 throwaway races. Well, when you started adding the Roval, when you started adding the Daytona course, the Indy GP, all of these other ones, COTA, you can't ignore these road courses anymore, and you have to be able to drive them. So they get in their sims and they start driving them and they get better at it. So you've seen this as Tyler Reddick's gotten better, Chastain's gotten better, Suarez won at Sonoma. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys now that are taking this a lot more seriously than they did before.
And Ellie, you kind of spoke about it earlier. COTA is one of those super technical tracks where there's just drivers that are really good at it for whatever reason. We have 6 drivers who have multiple top 10s here in the 3 Cup Series races that we've been at COTA. Your guy, Alex Bowman, with 3, Ross Chastain with 3, and Tyler Reddick with 3 as well. And then Austin Cindric, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch each have 2 apiece. Keep in mind, Elliott didn't race here last year to potentially compete for that 3rd one. So Elliot, are you definitely leaning on some of these guys throughout your lineups and your bets this week that have this success and track history here at Austin?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, COTA is almost a whole different animal. And we have seen, it'd be one thing if it was, we hadn't seen quite all the same guys do as well here. But like you said, those guys, whether it be next gen or old gen, being able to get the top 10s done, staying consistent at COTA, I think these guys are easily going to be the ones to go back to the well and make you some money this week.
Hell yeah. Let's get to our iFantasy Race Asterisk Mark Driver of the Week. And if you guys haven't checked out ifantasyrace.com yet, they do a fantastic job. I know myself and just our whole team and a bunch of content creators in this space, we get all of our data from the schedules to the advanced statistics to the loop data. We get it all there at ifantasyrace.com. A lot of it's free, so make sure you're checking it out. And if you enjoy it, subscribe over there. Ryan and his gang do an excellent job. And his asterisk mark driver of the week is Daniel Suarez, top 5 contender last year at COTA, but he finished 27th after getting caught up in late race carnage. Suarez started 5th, had the 3rd best average running position, really great metrics across the board. However, on lap 57, while in 2nd, we had that late carnage happen. And then in overtime, Suarez still running top 5. He shredded the tire. He went off the track a little bit on one of those crazy restarts and ends up bringing up that 3rd caution to go to triple overtime. And Suarez is nowhere to be found. So I like Suarez this week. I'll be honest, boys, a little foreshadowing. How do you guys feel about Trackhouse after hearing that stat from Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, they obviously have a good road course program. You wouldn't have expected Chastain necessarily to be the best road course driver, but he got it done here and has been solid here. Daniel Suarez, of course, getting the win at Sonoma and running quite well here last year. They're definitely one to watch. And honest to God, maybe outsourcing SVG over to Colleague this week instead of running Project 91 may help them too.
Yeah. Yeah. And Rod, also, I wanted to mention, like, we had some outliers in that last race because of that late race carnage. One of them was Todd Gilliland. He finished 6th in this race last spring. But no, he was in 19th on lap 57 and actually 23rd at the start of the 2nd overtime. So kind of came out of nowhere, was the benefit of some crazy shit happening. Like, I think we kind of need to keep that in mind. I've been seeing some Todd Gilliland love around the internet right now. And I just don't know if, like, I can get behind him or like Ricky Stenhouse too. Another guy, big outlier race.
Everybody wants the splashy headlines, but I'm telling you right now, like you said, it was a product of carnage. And will stuff like that happen? Absolutely. And we see it happen every single week in these series that something unexpected happens, but you are going to be a broke bettor or a broke fantasy player if you every single week build your cards, build your lineups on, well, hey, maybe Todd Gilliland could sneak into the top 10. That'd be fantastic. Sorry, but you're not going to be profitable for the most part of the season. So keep your Gilliland tickets. If he beats me, he beats me, and I'll eat my words. But, I don't know.
Yeah, that sort of strategy sounds like how I was when I first started betting NASCAR, just going for those Hail Marys and not quite making them. But hey, sometimes those guys who can take advantage of the chaos, make it through, end up with a good finish. They're good to have. It's just impossible to figure out who that's going to be on any given week.
Yeah, we got Stan in the chat saying Trackhouse is plus 130 versus Colleague on Caesars. I hit that.
The tough thing with that is you have SVG and Allmendinger in Colleague cars. Normally, absolutely, but
I'll take it. Rod, I know you've kind of been hot on Trackhouse and kind of fading Colleague a little. Colleague's a mess right now, dude. Like, let's be honest. Across all series, like SVG's done a little bit of wheeling and dealing in the Xfinity, a couple top fives and a couple top tens and a top five, but like I'm with Stan on this. I like this bet, Rod, especially at plus money.
The plus money angle of it is pretty much the only reason that I take it, and the only reason I take it is because of Chastain. But I'm pretty high on Dinger this weekend, because my heart can't let go of AJ. So I'm not. Look, if you listen to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, you'll get all of our SVG takes. It's already out of the way. I'm not even going to grace this show with SVG takes because we'd be here all night. Suffice it to say, guys, I don't understand his numbers. Like, I just don't get why a guy that's got one. Yeah, okay, he's got one win, but dude, he's not. Anyways, never mind. I'd still take the plus money side of Trackhouse for this.
Yes, I am with you there. We got Nick in the chat saying Seth, Elliot, and Rod, good to see you again. I mean, I don't bet, but theoretically win me some money. I think Nick's out there in California. Am I correct on that? Nick's a Cali boy. Yeah, hey, man. Maybe you call Shohei Ohtani's bookie, and maybe he could get you invested out there. I'm sure there's ways, my friend. I'm sure there's ways. That was a little bit of news to shock the sports world today.
That was a mess for sure.
What do you say, though, Elliot? Should we break this down a little bit further here, talk some drivers?
Yeah, let's roll right on into the tire tiers for the week. Okay, so as we referenced a couple of weird driver things this week, Colleague Racing, they're putting AJ Allmendinger in the number 13 car this week. They ran that a couple times for Chandler Smith last year. Allmendinger is in the 13. Shane Van Gisbergen is not in that 91. That 91 that he won with in Chicago, not entered. He's in the Colleague number 16 car. And the number 50 is back, but no, it's not a money team shitbox. It is a third 2311 car. Kamui Kobayashi is in the number 50 this week.
Yeah, man. Shout out to 23XI putting someone else in the car. I'm happy to see that. And don't shit on Floyd Money right now. He was putting out some decent cars at one point, Elliot. Show a little respect to the GOAT.
They did make some Daytona 500s against the odds. And another new addition this week, the number 66 car, Timmy Hill, back in the field as well. There's our mention of him for the week.
iRacing GOAT, Timmy Hill.
Absolutely. Love the guy. It's just not the car.
No, yeah, I want to see him getting some fucking Hendrick equipment sometime. I bet he'd tear it up. Rod, start us out here, man. We're looking at DraftKings and Fantrax pricing. What do you like over there?
Well, listen, so when I look at drivers on this track, and when you look at the guys that are doing this, you got to look at Reddick. Like, you have to put Reddick up there as one of your top tier drivers. Just on the metrics of all of it, he's the first in next gen speed rankings combined for the 23 and 22 seasons, right? I mean, it's not even close. He was the first at COTA in 2023 as far as speed rankings are concerned. Third at the Indy Roval, Indy doesn't really count. Charlotte doesn't count, but second at COTA, second at Road America, second at the Roval again. He's one of these guys that has climbed the ranks now as one of the better road course racers, and he's going to be chalky. But in cash games, you have to have him in case he decides to go out and have a fantastic day at the Roval again, and lead everybody in green flag speed and heat chart ratings and whatever it is. Tyler Reddick's name is number one. Therefore, I think he has to be the first name brought up tonight.
And I think it's interesting. We're going to talk about Reddick a shit ton tonight, but like you guys brought it up earlier, like this is kind of like an F1 race, and we kind of have to play DFS like F1. And I've just gotten into DFS F1 this year. I'm playing in Rod and the SGPN guys league, getting my ass kicked. I'm going to be honest. I think they took advantage of a newbie. But in those leagues, you have to have both Red Bull and Tyler Reddick and Max Verstappen. You have to have the two best. I think this week, if you want to win, you got to find a way to fit Tyler Reddick into your lineup. So I'm with you there, Rod. Elliot, any thoughts on the number 45 car, and who else do you have for this A tier?
Yeah, I mean, Reddick is the slam dunk best driver here, best driver at COTA. Rod, you're more than welcome, and anyone else watching, you're more than welcome to count those sort of more roval road courses in your factors. Just because they're a little different tracks doesn't mean the left and right turns are still not an impact. Obviously, they're going to race more similar on roval style tracks to road courses than it's comparing the oval data. Reddick's a slam dunk. He's at 10.5. That's the highest price. Normally, I go through the top prices here. He's at the top at 10.5. Chase Elliott's at 10.3. Kyle Larson 10.2. Christopher Bell 10,000. Martin Truex Jr. at 9.8. William Byron 9.7. SVG at 9.5 and on down the line.
10.5 isn't even that bad. I paid 11,000 last week for people.
I was expecting it to be a lot worse for Reddick. So honest to God, crazy to say that a guy like that, who's clearly the best driver and at the top of the DK lineup, is almost a bargain. But I think you're right. I think fitting Reddick into your lineup, even if he doesn't win the race, is still going to be a slam dunk for your fantasy lineups.
Bob saying Toyo is still the car to beat. Yeah, man, they've looked fast as hell all year. This great spot for him. 54, baby. Oh, all right. Elliot, you going 54 next pick? You going to satisfy our dude Bob here in the chat?
No, even though I all dragged up the 54 before the 45, I had my monster schemes mixed up there. Man, it's crazy that it's such a big drop from Reddick to even the next guy. There's a few different options here. I'm going to throw the love to AJ Allmendinger, though, in the 13 car. Kaulig always says their mantra is trophy hunting. This is the first time in a long time that they actually are bringing drivers to the track to be trophy hunting. Because not only do you have Allmendinger, one of the most talented road course drivers out there, he's third in the total speed rankings from COTA, damn near won the thing in 2022, ran well in 2023, but you also have an Allmendinger that probably, he's a company man. Kaulig saved his career, this, that, and the other. He loves racing there. He loves winning there. This has got to be a guy who just the slightest bit of him is so pissed he's not able to be full-time in Cup. They tossed him out of that ride, even after winning at the Charlotte Roval, one of the most recent road course races, still stuck in Xfinity. So I think you've got a guy who's super hungry to continue showing that he can continue to win in Cup, and COTA is one of the best spots that he'll have to do that here in a trophy hunt. They're going to bring it.
I'll be honest with you guys. Rod, I know you're going to be all over AJ Allmendinger. I've heard your program earlier this week. I'm going to fade him. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, he could get you negative points this week because he's probably going to start 10 to 12th to 15th. And AJ Allmendinger, especially now that he's not full-time, he doesn't care about finishing third. He wants it's checkers or wreckers for AJ Allmendinger. So I'm worried he's going to be fence at some point off track, and he might finish 30th, get you negative points with the differential. I'm good on it in Dinger. I think I'm good. So you laid it out perfectly, Elliot. It's too risky for me though. And look, I don't even know what this 13 car is going to do because it doesn't seem like the 16 and the 31 car have shit this year.
Well, the drivers in those cars really haven't had shit this year, to be honest with you. No offense, Daniel Hemrick, Xfinity champion. Allmendinger being priced at 8,800 too. Another thing I didn't mention. Absolutely love him as an A. But you're right. Checkers or wreckers. If it's not checkers, wreckers isn't going to do you very good.
Rod, you like him a lot this week, though, don't you?
I was going to save my love for the betting part of it, but listen, here's the thing. The dude, look, he won the last road course race that we had in the entire series last season. And he's always up there. He's always a contender. He's always the Xfinity leader in road course racing. He's raced through no power steering. He's raced through a heat suit malfunction. He's raced through knowing he's not going to have a job in the Cup Series and winning that race. Like, I don't know what else AJ Allmendinger has to prove to the world, but he's proved it to me. So, AJ, if you're out there, I want to have a beer with you, and I totally love him. So.
Nice. We got some more Ty Gibson love in the chat. Ty saying Ty is going for the lead in points this week. Yeah, he's up there, man. He's like plus 79 above the cut line today. I just checked that out. Go ahead and throw the number 48 car, Alex Bowman. You know, we don't really think of Alex Bowman as a great road course guy, kind of top 15 guy. He has something about COTA, man. One of those only drivers I touched on earlier that is 3 for 3 here at COTA. He has placed 8th, 2nd, and he battled Ross and Dinger in 2022 for the win, and then 3rd last season. So I like Alex Bowman a lot this week. I'll have some bets on him later. But at the price tag, man, like 7,700, it's going to be really chalky. You know, you're going to eat the chalk on that because of the price, but I'm going to eat it. I don't see how you can have an optimal lineup without getting 40, 50 points from Alex Bowman at 7,700.
I think he's priced so low, partially because there are people who are not going to look at the COTA stats and say he's been arguably the second best driver, especially in the next gen car at COTA, not even factoring in a good finish in 2021. You're going to have a lot of guys that just look on Alex Bowman and shit on Alex Bowman because he's Alex Bowman. It's the same thing. We do it with Suarez in our tiers a lot too. These are guys in good cars who don't always perform, so they're oftentimes an afterthought. Not this week.
Rod, who else do you have here for the A tier?
Yeah, and honestly too, with the no stage or the stage breaks back again, that could bunch the field back up and give Bowman an opportunity to keep with him in touch with the lead pack. So, give me his teammate, 24, William Byron. People are gonna overlook him. He's $9,700 this week, but last season he was second only to Tyler Reddick as far as overall speed chart over there. Thanks to iFantasy Race giving us that one. Second in total speed rankings altogether there. Just sneaky, been a guy that's been around, right? In those 3 races, he does have a top 5. He started on the pole last year, right? Managed a top 5 finish through all of that crazy stuff. Led you 28 laps, which in a track that doesn't have a lot of laps to lead, 28 laps is a pretty damn good DFS day, especially I know he lost you some differential points, but still, I mean, he made him up in laps led. So, and a 5th place finish is still not bad at all. So yeah, I like William Byron. I think he's going to be a sneaky DFS play because everybody's just going to kind of overlook how well he's done on this track and kind of overlook what he's done altogether.
Yeah, I certainly don't think Hendrick's a bad play here. Tempted to go another Hendrick driver, but I'm going to save it. I'm going to throw Ross Chastain up on the board, open up that Trackhouse can of Busch Light there in that number 1 car. Best speed ranking when he won in 22, 4th best in 23. We know Trackhouse is good here, but we've already set the table for Chastain. I don't see any reason why he's not an A-tier driver. Price of $9,000 as well. Another one of those guys, not going to totally blow out your lineup with your A-tier. So you can make some reaches here, throw a couple more B's or C's into the middle of your lineup that maybe you wouldn't get to in other weeks when a guy like Chastain will be like 11-2 at a mile and a half.
He gets rambunctious. He gets rowdy here, man. Like whether it's going off track or beating and banging, you know, Ross, he knows, like he circles this track every single year. So I like the call there, Elliot. You guys can convince me whether these two are A-tier drivers or B-tier drivers. But I'm interested in Daniel Suarez on the board. I think he's a nice little discount here down at 8,500, and Ty Gibbs is right above him at 8,700. Listen, Daniel Suarez a little bit riskier, kind of like the AJ Allmendinger. He could get you negative points, but the guy has had real speed here at COTA the last couple years. 8th in the COTA Next Gen total speed rankings, 9th in the road course Next Gen total speed rankings. We know he can win on road courses. We saw it in Sonoma back in 2022. I like Daniel Suarez, and I also like give the people what they want, man. They wanted Ty Gibbs on the board. Put him on the board. Dude is a clinic, man. 9th in this race last year, finished 9th, and he's been one of the top 10 road course racers in the Cup Series since coming in. So, yeah, give me some Ty Gibbs. He's pulling double duty. Ross is pulling double duty. I love it. I love it, man. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't hate these guys being at A, but I think this is probably a drop-off. What do you think, Ron?
Well, and so I was going to say I would probably put Daniel Suarez as a B+ driver and probably keep
That's fair.
Gibbs as A because
fair.
I think Gibbs has a top 5 potential in him. So I think that definitely belongs in the A category. But I don't know that I can say the same about Suarez. I know everybody's high on Mi Amigo this week, but I think a top 10 finish is going to be good for him.
Yeah, you can put Suarez in the B's, Ellie. That's okay.
That works for me.
That's okay. Rod's racist. I get it.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I'm totally racist. Yeah. You know what's funny is that I wanted to ask him for some candy when I saw him at Sonoma last season, but I didn't want to lose my press pass.
All right,
dude. One of my favorite parts of the show is just unhinged Seth Woolcock, who I don't think quite realizes what he says till after he says it.
I'm not the host of this show.
That is peak. That is the peak Backroad.
We got Rachel in the chat saying, "Hey, IBT family, what's up, Rachel? Good to see you. Thanks so much for hanging out with us." Rachel's a newer NASCAR fan. She's been getting into it, doing some prize picks and some underdogs over there. So excited to see it. A lot of discourse right now in the chat. Some people love road course racing, other people don't like it as much. Bob seems to be a fan of it. All right, Rod, back to you, man. Who else do you have for B?
Oh man, this already. Why is it already tough? Already, it seems like we got, because I don't, guys like Kyle Busch. You see his name up there. I know a lot of people love them. Some Kyle Busch right now. Yeah. Austin Cindric is out there, but I don't want to put either one of those names up there. So I feel like I'm gonna just cop out and maybe throw Bubba in there. I actually do.
You love Bubba this week.
Yeah, you listen to my show. I don't know why, but he's hitting me as a guy that is going to need a comeback, and for his price,
67. Holy hell!
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
how?
That is cheap.
There's a lot of possible money to be made on Bubba Wallace this week, so I don't hate this. I don't know if I'd put him as a B driver, but he is definitely one to watch. I'll touch on that a little more in the betting segment.
That's a B upside. B upside is what he's got.
Yeah. I mean, you would think the 45, they're sharing data, they're sharing setups. Like you would think if we like the 45 as much as we do, Bubba could be sneaky there. And I'll say this, Rod, you're the only person so far. It seems like Elliot, I haven't read his column yet and published that, but he might have some Bubba love. But you're the only person I've heard on Bubba this week. So I'm excited to, you're getting some leverage there. No one else is going to be on him. So good call there. Elliot, what else do you have for the Bs?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about Bubba Wallace is he's still learning how to drive road courses. He's a couple years ago just absolutely terrible, and he'd admit it to you. The question is, has he risen enough to be able to make a lot of money on him? We'll talk a little more about him later. I will jump and put either the 2 or the 8 up there. I think I might even argue to put both of them up in the Bs this week. Kyle Busch, I was definitely lower on until I went and saw the numbers. He's been a better road course driver, even last year in the RCR stuff. Been better than I thought. The 18, those last couple of years, he was a little dismal. But at COTA, 9th best in the total speed ranking, had the good finishes here. And Austin Cindric, this is still one of the tracks that, road courses are arguably his bread and butter. Before he went and did the NASCAR stuff, he did a lot of sports car racing, cut his teeth here. People will remember the first year we were at COTA, started to rain a little bit. Everyone else is on wets. He's out there leading the field on slicks. This guy's got the talent. This year, he hasn't been quite as dog shit as usual. I think both of these guys have some value here. Their price is a little more inflated than I would maybe like. Cindric at $7,200 and Kyle Busch all the way up at $9,200. So not my favorites, but I think solid B to B minus drivers this weekend.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with them. Like I was trying to actually fade Austin Cindric in a matchup, and then I realized he finished 6th here. Like he usually gets off to a good start, unloads fast here for whatever reason. So yeah, I think those are good calls. Despite I don't think I'll have them in a lot of lineups, but they do probably belong in the B tier. Let's give the people what they want. Bob's asking for the 16 and 9, and I think they do belong here. The issue, let's start with the 9. The issue there for me, it's 10-3. And I know Chase Elliott is that dude on road courses, but what was he that dude? We just haven't seen it, man. And last week we finally saw him get up there, lead a couple laps, and then he just fell back to the 20s and never kind of really recovered from it. Was using up his tires. I don't know. There's some question marks there. I'm not paying 10-3 for Chase when I can pay 10-5 for Reddick. So I think that's why he belongs here. And the 16, man, I think Rod kind of laid it out best. I don't think I need to touch on it a ton, but I actually do think he'll be better in the Cup Series SVG than in the Xfinity Series, just because he's won in a Cup car. I think he's a little more comfortable potentially in this setup and package. So I don't mind SVG, but I think he's only ever been here once in another, a supercar series. So not a lot of experience. I don't know. I'm good on SVG at the price tag. It's expensive, 9.5.
Hey, SVG didn't have a lot of experience either when he stepped in Chicago. Goes out there and whacks it. There is that chance with a guy like SVG. Obviously the Xfinity results haven't quite jumped out because it's been on ovals and styles of tracks he hasn't raced in before, but he's still done well enough, stayed out of the chaos enough, and driven well enough to not finish all that terribly. He's in the fight for a playoff spot on points. The more he learns, the more dangerous he'll be. Yeah. You remember a guy like Marcus Ambrose, the other Australian to win a Cup race, started off in Xfinity, had to kind of cut his teeth, goes out there, had some dominant performance. Should have won Sonoma if he didn't think that he could coast the car uphill, and then goes out and wins 2 years in a row at the Glen. with SVG too, I think he'll be coming into the Cup Series really high on Sunday because I think he will have absolutely dominated the Xfinity race the day before coming in.
Wow.
He'll be pretty confident.
Ooh.
I mean, you look at the Xfinity field, obviously there's good road courses, but there's a non-zero chance that just like we would see with an Allmendinger sometimes, SVG will just go out there and just kick the shit out of everybody.
Let's just say if SVG does do that and has as good as a Cup day as Elliot thinks, Rod and Cody, oh, they're losing a lot of money, my friend. There's been a lot of SVG shade thrown, not just by Rod and Cody, but around the internet this week. It's definitely
that's fair, but I'm not jumping on that shade. I'm on the SVG train this week.
I'm also fuck colleague right now, so you know.
Oh yeah, no. If he was in the 91, I'd be way more on him. The 16 definitely scares me, but we've seen Paul be able to do it here on road courses. This is what they give a shit about. This is where they'll bring the car for these guys to get a win.
Rod, what do you have here to start us out in the C's?
A lot of vomit that I'm swallowing about all that whole last conversation. No, I'm just
kidding. Hey man, we'll see next week. You know, we'll see what happens.
I know, and look, like I said, man, I'll have a beer with any of these guys. This is not a knock on them.
No, absolutely.
Them as drivers. No, it's weird to me that we have 3 of the 4 Hendrick cars, and we have not yet touched on Larson. Have we soured on Larson as a road racer? I mean,
mainly at COTA. You know,
yeah, I mean mainly at COTA,
10-2,
but
10-2, and even Ryan said it in his Asterisk Mark report that Kyle Larson was kind of another one of those phony guys who I think he finished 13th or 14th, like right in those early teens, but he wasn't running all that good. Had a bunch of issues, got into a bunch of different people. I don't think he's still that dude, but do you think like at 10-2, do you think he belongs in the B's, Rod? Like if you want to make the case, I'm here for it. I'm not against it.
Now, I just wanted to have a discourse on him just to see what we were at, because I just feel weird that they'll put him in the C's. I don't think he's a B driver, and I think we're out of the B category altogether. Anyways, to be honest with you, I think we are starting the C category. So, because he's a guy that can do it, right? He was still 12th in overall speed rankings on road courses the 2 combined years of 2022, 2023, right? So that's somewhere in the C category, and it's not going to be a great return on value. Maybe he's a good pivot from, if he does end up winning this race on accident, not a lot of people will be holding him because of his price. So, don't go heavy on him for sure, but I don't think he's somebody we can completely ignore.
Yeah, I mean, I briefly considered putting Larson a little higher. The numbers at COTA just aren't there. I mean, he's 14th in the speed ranking, hasn't been able to get up there and wheel it like he has at a Sonoma or a Glen or one of these Rovals. I think he's worthy of a C here. And forgive me if you guys have more individual notes on all 3 of these guys, because we can definitely take a minute and expand.
Nope.
I think the rest of Joe Gibbs Racing is probably worthy of a C here. I'll probably go Truex, then Bell, then Hamlin. These guys, they've had some road course pedigree before. It's not that they're bad. COTA just hasn't been it. Truex 10th in the speed rankings, Bell 11th, Hamlin all the way down to 21st. Their prices are too inflated for me. Bell is at 10,000, Truex at 9,800. Denny Hamlin's at 8,200, but also he's the worst of these 3.
Yeah, he's had some bad luck at COTA too, though.
I think they've all got potential, but definitely not as high as we normally see. Especially, I think it's clear after last week, Joe Gibbs Racing is the team to go with on the short tracks. Yeah, it's probably not this week at COTA.
Yeah, I think you have him in a really good order there. Like I might play Denny more than the others because he's 8,200 for a Joe Gibbs car rather than like Truex 9,800. Missed me on that. Bell, I think he's like 10 flat. Missed me on that. So like they belong in this tier for sure. And also maybe even above them should be Michael McDowell. Just like sign of respect. Really like 8,000 right now for him. It's going to be real chalky at that price. But I do like Michael McDowell. Lana asking in the chat, how important is starting position on this track? Generally on road courses, the people who qualify and practice well, Lana, like depending on what the temperature is of the track, depending like from A to B's, you're generally going to get those cars who are going to be the fastest. However, COTA is one of those tracks. If it goes to overtime, chaos could break out and track position isn't as meaningful, especially with that first turn. You can jump a lot of people. And also we have the stage breaks back this year. So it's not as important, I think, as it was without the stage breaks there. Go ahead and throw Chris Buescher up here as well, Elliot, just like sign of respect. Same with Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney, terrible here last year, really bad run from, but he does have a top 10 at this track. Been racing really good. Doesn't really matter the track for him this year. So Ryan Blaney, 7,500. Like when do you ever get to play Ryan Blaney 7,500? So maybe Logano too. I don't know. Maybe he's D. I don't know. He's terrible. He's averaging like 8 DraftKings points per race.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the D there for Logano. Again, getting those Penske guys at such low prices not going to happen often. There's a reason they're at lower prices. And arguably, had I noticed McDowell was on the board, I would have picked him. I think my mistake is I put a different paint scheme on there for the tier number instead of that traditional loves yellow. I'm going to have to change that to make him stand out a little more, because I do like McDowell this week as a contender. And how could you not? Went out there, won the Indy Road Course on speed last year. Of course, that is more Rovaley than it is Ovally, but still worth a look here.
Rod, who else do you think for the D tier? Is there anyone else you're considering playing this week that we haven't mentioned?
Part of me wants to put the Legacy Motor Club guys up there, Nemechek and Eric Jones, just both of them. But I mean, I know that on the one run that Nemechek had in the Xfinity series was not a good run for him. He ended up 27th. I think he got caught up in some of that drama as well at the end. But he started in 6th, which means he had speed. But I mean, the Legacy guys, they pop their head out of the ground every once in a while. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think as far as the team goes, they may be good this week. But yeah, I don't know that they're anything more than D drivers this week.
Dude, JHN has been real solid this year, man. Like another top 10 performance from him last week. Like he's been getting it done, especially on fan tracks where you can get him for like $5, the minimum price. I like the John Hunter call a lot there, Rod. Like the guy is right now top 16 in the points. So good call out there with JHN. Elliot, we haven't mentioned him, and I know it's your turn, but Chase Briscoe, Chase Briscoe, once upon a time, really good road course racer, actually had a really good run here in 2022. Was kind of up there beating and banging with Dinger and Bowman and Ross in that race. So I think Chase Briscoe, for the price that you're getting, 7,100, I can stomach that.
Yeah, Briscoe is one of the guys I was thinking of. I don't hate him here. Usually he's good on the Indy road course, and that's about it, road course wise. But I don't hate him for that. A couple guys I'm thinking of here. I'm going to put Justin Haley up in the D's here. Rick Ware Racing, my big thing with them is they've got some talent there. Can the shit boxes make it? Can the shit boxes run up front? The shit boxes weren't bad at Bristol last week. Kaz Gralla and Haley were both top 10, top 15 just on raw speed last week. I think that this team's making some steps. And we saw Justin Haley's got it on road courses. The guy who was the closest to beating Shane Van Gisbergen in Chicago, Justin Haley back in that Colleague car. Now, I get it. Colleague road courses, we talked about this. Justin Haley, especially at a price of $5,800, could be one to watch. And I think I will throw Kobayashi up here in the D's. Like I said, 2311 car, not a money team car. It's going to have some speed in it. His Cup Series debut at the Brickyard didn't go well, gets involved in a lot of trouble, ends up finishing 33rd. His price, $7,000, right around the Briscoe Cindric area, 71, 7,200. I don't hate him as a D, but, I was expecting a lot more out of him. I remember I had the top 10 on Kobayashi at that Brickyard race. Really never even looked close to it.
Yeah. No argument there at all. I'll throw a couple in the Fs if you want. I think we're down another tier now. I'll just kind of round us out with a couple. Sure. Noah Gragson, put him on the board. Actually been pretty decent at this track in the Cup Series so far in his career. Top 25 in total speed rankings last year. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. had a top 10 run here. It was a little bit fluky last year. But I don't mind him either. Brad Keselowski at least deserves to be on the board here. I think we're a little low on Brad. Oh geez. Yeah, we're
getting down to it for sure.
Yeah, maybe Carson, just because Carson's kind of been that dog lately as well. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
He's been decent at road courses in Xfinity and the trucks. So I mean, that's about the only case you could make for Carson.
Yeah. Is there anyone else who belongs on the board to you, Rod? Anyone else you can throw up?
I'll throw up all right, but maybe not throw up on there. I'm not even gonna. I'm not. No. I was gonna put LaJoy up there, but not on a road.
No. Austin Dillon has actually been top 15 the next gen total speed rankings here, so he's been so bad. Maybe it can get better. Josh Berry was. Come on. Josh Berry was lit last week. He was that dude.
Yeah, but that's in a short track in Bristol managing tires where he cut his teeth, not on a 3.5 mile road course where,
He deserves to be on the board. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
Yeah.
What about Ryan Preece? If we're throwing SHR up there,
Yeah,
Ryan
I was
Preece?
gonna say let's put Priest. That was one I was gonna bring up. If we're gonna put SHR, yeah, there you go. That's a good spot for him.
Yeah, that's good with me. I think that does it for DFS. Unless you guys have anything else, Elliot, if you have a note on the other guys we didn't throw up.
No, I mean, the rest of the field you got here, for those who may not remember off the top of their head or just want a little word about him, I like to do that for everybody. Corey LaJoy, not the best road course guy. Kaz Gralla, also kind of mid. Shout out to him running decent for a good portion of the race.
Yeah, Kaz, let's go, baby.
Todd Gilliland, we were talking a little shit before the show about him kind of not really doing the best there at Bristol, kind of fucking over Ty Gibbs there. But that 38's occasionally got some speed. The 71 is Zane Smith. I mean, he's a winner here in the truck series. Yeah, should we have him round out the board, or is he not quite worth it?
He's been so he's just getting unlucky, but he's been so bad in Cup the last 3 races. It's hard to want to play Zane.
Yeah, we'll leave him off. Of course, Timmy Hill, shout out to you guys for even bringing a car to the race. Good job. And then the last 2 every week who have, they're never on the board, but we a little part of us loves them sometimes. Harrison Burton, Daniel Hemrick. Shout out to you guys in the 21 and 31.
Yeah. Shout out for being a driver. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're a driver every week in the Cup Series, and that's better than any of us can say. So
that's for damn sure.
Yes. Let's go ahead. Let's talk about the top of the board again. Let's talk about the drivers we like here in Parking Garage Props.
Yeah. So as we were talking about earlier, COTA, one of our favorite races of the year to bet. And I'll say it myself. I mean, people who watched the show a couple years ago know that there was a time where I wouldn't even talk about the bets. We'd get to this point and I'd say, all right, guys, you go ahead, with other different factors, such as being broke as shit. I wasn't really betting a whole lot of money. I can say confidently this week, as somebody who doesn't bet and really hasn't, thrown it in as heavy as some of these guys, this week's going to be the biggest card I've ever put on a race.
Let's
go.
A
lot of numbers here. We're ready to roll. We're ready to make some coin here. How are the books looking for you guys? I tell you what, I got a pretty full sheet here. They look pretty interesting to me.
I was pleased, man. I'm still trying to not be overly aggressive ahead of practice and qualifying. I'm still trying to, preach patience to both our listeners and readers and practice it myself. But at the same time, I thought there were some really advantageous lines across multiple series, Rod. As someone who does this, daily, multiple shows, how do you feel the books did this week? I know you call it like you see it.
Yeah, no, they did a fantastic job this week of giving you plenty of opportunity. And again, we're seeing these markets like the average speed of the race. We're seeing most laps led by a driver, drivers that finish on the lead lap. These are the prop markets that, we always say it's sexy to hit the outrights. You absolutely love hitting outrights because the numbers are great and it feels good to hit an outright, but you're going to make most of your money on these type of bets, the top 5s, all the finishing positions. So props to them. And not only that, but you're getting qualifying matchups, you're getting race matchups, like so much great stuff to bet on this weekend. And so, yeah, I mean, shout out to the books for getting this one right.
Yeah, and I want to actually highlight too, with the North Carolina opening in the last week or so, like FanDuel and DraftKings are finally coming to play where they're not pricing things ridiculously and offering some pretty competitive markets. So that's been kind of fun to explore some of these major books that I hadn't really been using the last year and a half, 2 years. So shout out to the books. We appreciate you guys. Elliot, let's go right into outrights, man. Who's an outright that you're digging? You're usually a little bit off the beaten path with yours.
Yeah, and normally this guy's off the beaten path, but I like him this week. And I'll preface this too. There's a saying that I bring up a lot during this show. If you ever heard the saying rose-colored glasses when you're looking at something, if you're not familiar with that saying, it means generally that you're looking at something with a little more favor than usual. You're looking at it with those sort of rosy eyes. And I oftentimes say, as an Alex Bowman fan, that I'm looking at it through the Ally purple tinted glasses. And we've actually got some Ally purple tinted glasses this week.
Let's go.
We created a real thing. We've got the prop going here.
John, is that you?
Yeah, that's John Lennon glasses. Shout out, $7 on Amazon. We love it here. So keep in mind, my take on Bowman is through the Ally purple tinted glasses here. He's at plus 2,500 on BetMGM. Most of the outrights have him at about plus 2,000 to plus 2,500. We talked about this during the tire tier segment. one of the better drivers in next gen here. Third last year, second 2 years ago here. No reason he can't fit in that winner's circle this week.
I mean, number 4 in the next gen total speed rankings at COTA, number 3 in the driver ratings last year, and number 4 in laps inside the top 15. Like, this guy, he's going to be up front towards most of the day. And like, I'm also on him in the outright. You kind of shouted him out early when you and I were texting, I think like on Monday or Sunday, and you're like, hey, look out for Bowman. 25-1 is egregious, I think, for this guy. And also plus 125 for the top 10. I'm on for a unit and a half. I'm hammering that home. Like, this is a guy, like, those are implied odds of 44% is what those odds are. And like, Alex Bowman has a better chance of 40, like I'd say a 60% chance or close to getting at least in the top 10. So I like him. I'm also kind of doing a little bit of a ladder there, Elliot. And I have the 25-1, a little bit of a sprinkle with half a unit. Rod, your thoughts on Alex Bowman? Do you have any action on him? And if not, anything else you like in the outright market?
I actually don't have any 48 love, which is weird because I'm a 48 guy, right? I'm Jimmy Johnson back in the day. But, yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't think he can get it done. I don't know. My research never really led me into feeling comfortable with taking the 48, especially for an outright. So, but for me, I'm you know where I'm going, Seth. You heard the show already. I'm going AJ Allmendinger, 16-1. He's still 16-1. Here's the deal.
Like that.
I get it. I know that dude drives in his head, right? And as somebody who does that, I get it. But I don't care if this guy's driving the 13, the 16, Oscar the Grouch's trash can. I think he's going to be a factor on this course all day long. He has 38 road course starts in his Cup Series career. He's got 3 wins, 19 top 10s. Like, that dude is always in the front on road courses. And on this particular track, it has been checkers or records for him, right? He finished 5th in 2021, 33rd in 2022, 34th.
Yeah.
Something always happens to AJ Allmendinger. But Elliot had said earlier that, he's not full-time anymore, so he doesn't really care. But that's exactly why he's not full-time anymore. He doesn't care. He wants to prove that he belongs in a Cup Series ride. And I think going out and winning at COTA is going to go a long way in saying, I know that I'm where I belong right now, but I'm not where I belong right now. So 16-1 for AJ Allmendinger, a guy that's, the winningest road course guy in Xfinity right now. Yeah, it's hard to pass him up.
Yeah.
I think
totally fair. Oh, yeah, go ahead, sir.
Well, if you're gonna bet him outright. That'd be my suggestion, because he is live to win. He's AJ Allmendinger, and like, I wouldn't bet him in the prop market because I'm scared of him, and I'm scared he is checkers or wreckers. But hey, you're betting the checkers part of it, so I can't fault you on taking the outright. Probably going to be a top 15 qualifier, so those could shrink a little bit as we move towards the weekend, Elliot.
Yeah, it's top 5 odds, plus 220 over on Caesars. I don't hate that either. You can be checkers or wreckers, not necessarily be wreckers, still end up finishing 3rd, 4th, 5th, especially with how spread out it can get if you get a long green flag run at the end. And with Allmendinger, normally I worry about calling cars. Like I said, this week they're going to bring it, and I think Allmendinger could get a top 10 even if he was in that 44 car.
All right. Well, from the love of AJ Allmendinger, I will take you to the chalk of Tyler Reddick. I got him at 5-1. He opened, at least here in Pennsylvania, at 5.5-1. I wasn't quick enough on the trigger to get there. And we hit him last year, 10-1, pre-practice and qualifying. And I think that the thing to note about that win for Tyler Reddick last season, folks, is that he had a terrible pit strategy. He pitted one more time than everyone else on the racetrack, had to go through multiple overtimes, and still was the class of the field. And Tyler Reddick's car looks way better this season than it did last season coming in. Like, last year we took that outright, Elliot and Rod, and I remember like kind of getting some looks like, like Tyler Reddick hasn't done anything this year, but he has done things already this year. So I like him a lot. He's the best road course racer, number 1 in the next gen total speed rankings at road courses, number 1 at COTA. Like, all the metrics, green flag speed, total speed ranking, driver rating, everything. He was number 1 last year at this race. I know it sucks to eat the chalk, but Rod did it last week with Hamlin. He was profitable. I wish I would have done the same. I'm not going to make the same mistake this week. Tyler Reddick, unit and a half. I'm going down on it. And if he somehow doesn't qualify well and I can get that at a bigger number later, I'm doubling down, baby. Tyler Reddick, 2 years in a row. Sweep it, baby. Sweep it.
Yeah, I certainly don't hate that at all. I've got a couple other outrights listed here. Any of you guys want to shout out, though, first?
I have one I'll mention, but you can go ahead. You might hit one of mine, so go ahead.
Yeah, just some others to throw out there. Chase Elliott was at a plus 900 boost over on Caesars for those people who still like him here. Shane Van Gisbergen as high as 1400 on MGM. And two guys here, and I just double checked this too because it's a wild number for one of these guys. Both Justin Haley and Bubba Wallace. Haley over on BetMGM, Bubba Wallace on Bet Rivers, plus 20,000 to win. Haley, I'm less confident in.
Bubba you Wallace, love yourself some Justin Haley long shots. You said go.
It was mainly just going to be for Bubba. I saw Haley there too. I was like, whatever, I'll mention him. But we showed a little bit of love to Bubba Wallace. You know, he's got the car to get it done. He's got the ability to get through chaos to get it done. He's a good plate racer. You know, sometimes he ends up in that chaos, but he can also get through it. And just for a car this good, to get plus 20,000 odds to get to victory lane when it's not as out of the question as a Ware car or a Josh Berry or a Prix or a Zane Smith going to victory lane, that's an attractive number. And I know this time I should put on the only bets the super high numbers that never hit glasses. But hey, that's one of my favorite bit long ones that I've seen, and definitely not quite as crazy as some of these others.
Listen, a 200-1 on Bubba is not bad, especially if we're talking about Reddick having that good equipment. I mean, that feels like a misprice. I know. Again,
right. He says I had to double check because he's plus 10,000 on MGM. He's like 11.5 on DraftKings. Still shows as 200-1 over on Bet Rivers.
200-1 is honestly like, I mean, it's worth a penny. Like that is for him to be priced like in the same range as Hocevar and Gilliland and Eric Jones and Justin Haley, like that tells you, you found the value, Elliot. You definitely found some value there, regardless of the outcome. And speaking of value here, Stan saying ESPN has Reddick at 4-1 and 23xi better number plus 450. Yeah, might as well hop on if they're giving you a little bit of extra value there. Bob likes Gibbs 15-1. I like Gibbs a little bit more. I think outright, if I was going to take an outright on Gibbs, maybe an Xfinity this week, I think that's where I would prefer to go with Gibbs. But I can't hate the call, Bob. He's been really, really good here. The only other one I wanted to shout out that wasn't touched, 25-1. Again, a little riskier of a pick. Daniel Suarez. Trackhouse always has speed at COTA. Ross won in 2022. Daniel Suarez was on the front row during that race, led 15 laps, won stage 1. Last year started 5th, running 2nd before that chaos. 8th in the COTA Next Gen Total Speed Rankings, 9th in the Road Course Next Gen Total Speed Rankings. Give me some Daniel Suarez. I have him for the top 10 as well, plus 105. Again, riskier, but I think Suarez, if he can keep it together, like Suarez is a little bit rambunctious. He's a little bit of a crazy fucker. He likes to get out there. But I'm going to take the shot, just about a quarter of a unit for me on him though. So that's everything I think for the outright market, guys. Anything else we haven't touched in the placement prop market for you guys? I touched on the guys I already like there. Bowman for a top 10 plus 125. Suarez, top 10. And then also shout out FanDuel. You can still get a top 3 for Reddick plus 150. I'm down on that as well. Rod, anything for you in the placement props we haven't touched on?
So if you're feeling froggy about Alex Bowman, there's a fun way to get in on him. On Caesars, they got both to finish inside of the top 10. And if you like Alex Bowman and Michael McDowell to both turn top 10 finishes, you can get plus 325 on that for both of them to finish inside of the top 10. Alex Bowman's number to finish in the top 10 is minus 120 on his own. And then you got to scroll pretty far down to get to, actually, no, you don't got to scroll. Michael McDowell's minus 125. So if you want to turn that into a plus money proposition and have them both in the top 10, that's a fun way to get down on that.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I like that shout out there. Elliot, anything else for you here in placement props?
Yeah, I mean, Bet Rivers had Bowman still at a plus 135 for top 10 earlier. I won't bother to scroll through my phone and try to find that now. And, most of the same guys I touched on. A couple, we want to talk long shots here. Kobayashi for a top 10s at plus 275. And the Legacy Boys, Jones at plus 500. John Henry Nemechek at plus 800. Again, the data's not really there for any of those guys. But you know me, I'm the Hail Mary guy sometimes. So
I would prefer JHN if I was going to get on one of those numbers. I think like 8-1 isn't terrible. So yeah, I'm not opposed to that number. Anything else, Elliot, or you go to matchups?
Let's roll to matchups.
Rod, do you have anything for matchups here? I have one that I'll throw out in specials for an Xfinity matchup, but nothing here in the Cup Series for me. I've been playing these more post-practice qualifying.
Well, so for me, listen, they got Kyle Larson paired up against Shane Van Gisbergen on Caesars. Give me Kyle Larson, minus 120. for Kyle Larson over Shane Van Gisbergen. I know, and I know you all love you some Shane. SVG love is rampant in the NASCAR community, and that's fine. Again, he's going to have a good run. I understand that, but listen, there's a lot of demons that can jump up at you on these road courses, like Chicago street course on a rainy day in Chicago. That's not COTA. That's not the big twists and turns of this track. Kyle Larson's not the greatest on this track either. I get it, but Kyle Larson's been on this track before. Kyle Larson has raced stock cars on this track before. SVG at -110 as the favorite. It's gone too far, guys. It's gone too far. Give me Kyle Larson over Shane Van Gisbergen -110.
Hey man, when he raced at Chicago, I brought up the SVG outright at +5,000. Man, I wish I had put a little something on it. So
I know, I get it. Everybody did
at the very beginning.
Reeling us back in on the SVG love. Gotta love it.
That's probably smart. That's probably smart. Keeping us balanced here.
Anything for you, Elliot, that you saw out there in matchups and groups? I'm seeing some pretty compelling things, and I just don't know what I can get behind quite yet.
Yeah, I'll leave some of the more interesting juice drinking ones to you. But in terms of matchups, I like some plus money again. Surprise. Larson matchup. This one's ballsy, and I don't think either of you are going to like this at all. But just in case Tyler Reddick has something go wrong, just in case he doesn't win,
I saw this number too.
Just in case he ends up like 5th, 6th, 7th, and Kyle Larson runs better. Larson's a +140 over Tyler Reddick.
Gross.
So
Get out of here.
Yeah, it's not even my favorite one either. But to get plus money on Larson when Reddick's the favorite, does the favorite always win? No, the favorite rarely wins, but it doesn't win every week. Definitely worth a look. And some other decent road course drivers here over on Bet Rivers. You can take Michael McDowell +105 over Kyle Busch.
Okay.
I like that one. In fact, I love that one because again, Kyle Busch, you kind of breezed over him in the tire tiers, but that dude is so far out of his head right now. And Kyle Busch should be good on this track, but I think Kyle Busch is too pissed to be good anywhere. I think Kyle Busch is going through a rough beginning to this season, and last week did not get any better for him. And he's coming into COTA just pissed off, and I don't know. I sometimes we say a pissed off Kyle Busch is a good Kyle Busch, but maybe not in this instance. Maybe not in the wide expanses of COTA.
Yeah, maybe pissed off older Kyle Busch doesn't help either. And a race like last week too, we didn't even talk about this much, where you have the veteran guys who know how to drive a car doing well. You had your Hamlin, you had your Truex, you had your Keselowski. Kyle Busch is back there spinning around, driving backwards down to get to pit road instead of up them. So that was really surprising to me thinking about it that way.
Yeah, I kind of factor in Kyle Busch right around like Kyle Larson to me this week. He's like a 10th to 12th place car, but like we can't forget like this guy is just creepily good on some of these road courses too. Like a couple times it was strategy based a couple times last year, but he'd shoot out and get a top 5, top 3 a couple times at these road courses in that number 8 car. So I don't think I would play it, but I don't mind you guys backing it at all. So let's round out the show, guys, with specials and some other series bets. I did hop on Toyota +140 just in case everyone's favorite driver in the comments tonight, Ty Gibbs, happens to pull something out of his ass. I want to be covered there. So I was going to do it last week, but I was pretty confident in my outrights and I didn't hit it. And so a little insurance play there for me. I'm going to go Ty Gibbs. Okay, Xfinity Series. Transition to Xfinity Series Saturday night. Trying to have a couple beers with the boys. Enjoy a little sweat. Ty Gibbs, -125 against Shane Van Gisbergen. Yes, we're fading SVG. Yes, you guess again. 1 unit on it. And Ty Gibbs, not only 9th in the Cup Series last year here, finished his last Xfinity race at COTA in 3rd, won the pole in the other one. To me, he has top 5 upside, but his top 5 price at Caesars is -175. I can't pay that juice, so I'd rather take -125 against SVG. And like, I'm not trying to hate on him either. Like, I think he has a top 10 car probably in both series, but I think the upside's a little bit higher for Ty Gibbs, who has 4 Xfinity Series wins on road courses, is in the Joe Gibbs racing car versus the colleague equipment that I can't trust so far. And like I said, I think SVG actually is a little bit better in the Cup Series. So I'm actually trying to fade him more in Xfinity just because we haven't seen him win there yet. We haven't seen him get a top 3 finish, although he's had some really good runs there, had a nice finish at Atlanta. So yeah, give me a little bit of Ty Gibbs here, -125 over the foreign competitor here out of Australia.
I'll even take Gibbs over Larson. So I've got Gibbs over Larson at
Okay.
plus 10. I mean, I know Larson's in this Xfinity race. Is something we didn't really get a chance to talk about, but
Yeah.
I still take Gibbs over him in the Xfinity because Larson hasn't run, and the 17 car has not won a race yet this season. So not for nothing, but I think Gibbs is going to have a much better run for him there as well.
That was on Caesars, Rod. Is that where you found that one?
Well, that's on Superbook actually.
Okay. Okay. So it might be on Bet Rivers there, I think, as well. I saw it somewhere here in PA. I'm not sure where I saw it, but yeah, I would be potentially interested in that. Elliot, any specials or others before we get to a couple nice ones thrown out there in the chat for us to discuss too?
Yeah, hey, I mean, I've got some specials here to talk about for sure. Normally, I love my whichever manufacturer has the highest odds to win. I go with that. Ford's at plus 400 this week, but I don't like that.
I saw him at plus 475 somewhere today. I can't remember exactly. It might have been FanDuel. That's crazy. That's the highest I've ever seen for a manufacturer. It's crazy, but
it's crazy. But it would be a real shock to see Ford win this race. In terms of who's going to finish tops for the Ford, though, Chase Briscoe top Ford is at plus 1,000. You know, we talked about he's got a little bit of road course prowess. I certainly don't hate it. Alex Bowman is your top Chevy is at plus 1,000. And we'll talk a little more SVG. I've got some SVG love and some SVG hate. See, Bowman top Chevy plus 1,000. That's a pretty good number. SVG for the top Chevy is boosted at plus 600. Again, you got to pass some good cars to do that. But in Group G over there on Caesars, I take AJ Allmendinger is at plus 320, and that's over Shane Van Gisbergen, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Larson, who all are plus 220. So there's a little bit of money maybe on SVG, but then a little bit of money on the Dinger against SVG.
I think Rod, was that Cody? One of you guys called out that bet. My ears perked up when I heard that too. So I think this is the universe telling me I need to be tailing this play.
That was on my card, so I love that.
Okay. What was that number again, guys? Like 3 plus 320?
Plus 320.
Yeah, AJ plus 320, and the other three are all plus 220. So giving AJ that much of an advantage, I think, is a misprice.
I'm glad it's still there.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's still there when I go to bed in 20 minutes.
I'm trying to fade AJ this week, but damn it, does that fucking line not make me want to bet it, honestly.
I'll just throw a sprinkle there, so that way if AJ proves you wrong, you'd be like, hey, I still won you a little bit.
Yes.
There anyway.
Seth,
Elliot,
there's a couple of in the chat that I want to talk about real quick. I know Alfred's saying that Chastain plus 200 to win in the trucks. Don't fall for that.
So
too many ways to get hit in that one for Chastain. He hasn't done it yet.
So there was some love on the channel last night. We had Dale Tanhart on from formerly Garage Guys. He was on the NASCAR betting preview show yesterday, and he was hammering the Chastain 2-1. Rod, is it just the recent form from Chastain in the trucks? Is that what is making you avoid it? And is there any alternative outrights in the trucks? I know you're about to go on a truck, but can you preview? Can you give us a little Big J journalism preview for that?
Yeah, so listen, there's I like guys like Corey Heim to win this as well, because Corey Heim's been in the mix. But again, we just haven't seen these Cup guys come down and dominate these races. Like Kyle Busch has not come down and done it. Even Kyle Larson,
Byron,
Bell when he came down to do it. Like it's just not a done deal.
I've lost money on them. I've tried to bet them.
Yeah, it's just not a done deal anymore. And that's the thing too. I mean, if he was in, not Nice equipment, then I would be more higher on it than that. But, I don't know. It just, maybe if he wins, he wins. That's fine. He has one top 5 finish on this track. He did start on the pole, but he finished 5th, led 10 laps and finished 5th.
Yeah.
I was a good deal.
When I heard Dale last night, I went and checked out those stats because you guys know me. Ross is my guy. I got a really nice die-cast autographed on the shelf from Elliot that he sent to me for Christmas. And I love Ross, but 2-1 when I've lost money on nearly betting Kyle Busch, even money, taking some juice on Chris Bell, in the trucks earlier this year. It's really tough for me to get behind him, especially with that finish that you just laid out. And I think there might be a little more Ross being that heavily of a favorite. You have to either bet him outright or not bet him at all, because what is he for a top 3, Rod? Minus 300 or 200?
Oh yeah, he's way deep in the minus. Yeah, he's minus 250. I think the last I saw him minus 300. So yeah, you can't take any piece of that.
Elliot, is there any shots you like in the truck series? Because I know you're not betting Chastain, because you'll never bet in a fucking outright at 2-1. You sicko.
No, an outright at 2-1 would be real tough. And I mean, if he somehow qualifies like shit, and ends up, that number rises a little bit, I'm comfortable with it at even maybe 4-1 to 5-1.
Wait is what you're saying. Yeah, good call.
Wait, and it's really not going to go. He could go out there qualifying the pole. Are they really going to bump it down from 200? Are you going to see an even money outright? I don't think we're going to see that. So I don't think it moves any further, maybe plus 175. But at that point, what's the difference? I didn't really look at Xfinity and trucks, but just to know there is a lot of chaos in those races too, especially, you got less experience there. That's another reason why an outright quite like that maybe doesn't quite work so well, because some idiot, comes, runs into you, and ends up not working out.
Yeah, Bob saying Jesse Love 40-1 on Xfinity. I don't think he's run a lot of road courses.
I don't think ARCA does road courses at all, do they?
He's a good story. He's a fantastic story, but you guys, it's just like the SVG thing.
Every week. Oh. And listen, Bob, I'm usually the guy on this program who's taken Jesse Love to win, and I haven't. I have him on the season win total, and let's just say if I hit that bet, I'll make the money back I've lost on Jesse Love outrights this season. So I love the play, Bob, but especially this week in Xfinity, when you have guys like JHN who's going to be down there, you have guys like Larson, you have guys like Ty Gibbs. Like, is that where your money mostly is in the outright market for Xfinity, Rod? For Bob, maybe as an alternative is Ty Gibbs, or is there someone else that you were taking there that you could maybe suggest? Like I saw Sam Mayer, I think, out there like at a pretty good number too, which he was interesting.
Well, Sam Mayer, even as a top 3 car, is at 4-1. So I mean, that's not a bad deal. That's not a bad hedge right there. So and I do have a little bit on JHN, right? A little plus money on Chandler, and yeah, I mean, it's just there's so many other guys out there. And Bob, we know it. Listen, I love Love too. Believe me, I'm a big guy that loves Love, but you just, until we see it week after week after week, I think that's where we have to put money after.
And I just don't think he's going to be a top road course driver. Hit him at one of the 1.5 miles, maybe at a short track. I don't know if Xfinity races in the spring at the Texas Oval. I think that'd be a great place to bet him. His odds aren't going to be 40-1 there, but you got a hell of a lot better shot to get him there than you will at COTA.
Yeah, but Bob's saying Gibbs looks good. Yeah, Gibbs in the Xfinity. I haven't got on the outright yet. I need to do a little more additional prep for that, but I am interested in him as well. Alfred's saying many truck drivers can't make it around the track. Yeah, it's definitely going to be some high variance there and a lot of cautions, I'm sure, in those early series. But that's why it's fun, guys. And man, has this been a fun episode too, boys? Like, the juices are flowing for COTA. I feel like I already have a good sized card out there. I'm sure we're going to be posting stuff over on the Betting Pros app over the weekend as Ellie and I kind of get down live on some stuff. Rod's not in a legal gambling state, so he might be hooking up with Shohei's guy as well this weekend. But regardless, super excited. We got a lot of written content coming out on the site in the next 24 hours, so check that out as well. Rod, tell us what else you have going on this week. I know you have a podcast later tonight, probably one tomorrow, probably one the next day, probably one Sunday, probably one Monday.
Yeah. If you want to find me, all you got to do is throw a rock and hit me. I'm all over the place. No, 5 nights a week, NASCAR gambling podcast. We break it all down for you, from Cup Series to Truck Series to Xfinity. We got DFS. We're actually going to give you underdog plays for all 3 series this week. DFS plays for all 3 series this week as well on our Friday show. So that's fantastic. F1 is in Australia this weekend, so we got that as well. IndyCar, probably, if we can try to squeeze that in. I don't know, whatever. And then, of course, catch my Arena Football League podcast too. I just wrapped up a show with the Nashville Cats ownership group just before I jumped on here. So great pair of ladies that brought football back to Nashville, and I'm super excited about it, and they are too. So catch that interview with them.
Hell yeah. That's awesome, man. That's good to hear that you're keeping busy out there, Rod. We appreciate your time here as always on the back road. Elliot, what's new for us here at IBT that I haven't mentioned? I know we have some things in the work potentially for the next month or so.
Yeah, hopefully we're going to be having some fun there in Dover here in a few weeks, getting that at-track coverage started. We got the written stuff too. We were heavy on the written stuff when the site first started. We've pivoted a little bit, but we still got some good written content out there. You got our guy Ozzy doing a few articles on both NASCAR and the golf side. You got our golf guys on the 19th hole. That's always worth a look for sure. We got a lot of different ways you can make some money here. If it's not football season, I'm sure there's still going to be some football talk out there too. Always a good time here at In Between Media for sure.
Yeah,
Thanks
shout out.
And, keep locked in here.
Yeah,
we like what we're doing here, obviously. Sorry.
Shout out Wendy Early, man. She's been following the DFS article I put out every Friday, and she's won some big money the last couple of weeks just playing the guys. I've been pivoting away sometimes on my early practice, pre-practice and qualifying bets, but she's been winning a lot of money. We've been seeing a lot of success stories out there. So thank you guys so much for coming down the back road with us, hanging out with Elliot, Rod, and I each and every Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we also have the NASCAR betting preview show on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time with Derek and Phil and Mark and a whole cast of great community members over there. And easiest way to support us, like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your girlfriend, be that guy just at your picnic this week or whatever you're doing. Hey, you hear about In Between Media? No, what's that? I'll go ahead and tell them. Let them know. Let them know that we're hanging out. We're going to have a good time the rest of the season. Elliot, take us home, man.
Yeah, hey, and I bet they'll like In Between Media a lot more when they throw out some of these COTA bets and win some money. Be like, hey, those are the guys that won me my beer money last week. Any little bit, go for it. But as you said, Seth, thanks a lot to everybody for watching, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. Keep up with us, but thanks for rolling down the back road with us. Enjoy your weekend, and best of luck on your bets at Circuit of the Americas.